around student mobility and higher education insights for the Middle East and North Africa. And I'm joined here today by my colleague Abdurrahman Jum'a, who is leading on insights and mobility work for the Gulf region. Say hello, Abdurrahman, so people would recognize you.
Hello, everyone.
And on
thanks.
the screen, there's also Becca Horsley, who's one of our speakers today from UCAS. I'll introduce all our speakers in a sec, and we're expecting colleagues from BUILA and UKVI to join us in a bit. I'm joining you from Cairo, from Laguza, if you're familiar with Cairo, right across from the Nile. And I would love to know where you're joining us from. So just let us know in the chat, where are you joining us from? For now, we'll share the agenda in the chat. Our speakers for today, thank you so much for joining us. Yula Tang Ploman, the Vice Chair for BUILA, Executive Director of International Student Recruitment at Global University Systems, supporting both Arden University and University of Law. Becca Horsley on the screen, Customer Success Partner for International Advisors at UCAS, and Vanessa Bate, Visa Outreach Officer for the Gulf. UKVI, and Abdurrahman and I, we've introduced ourselves in front a bit. I see we have Abu Dhabi, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Kuwait. Brilliant. All right, so let me start by just giving a brief background around what British Council does to support international student mobility before I hand over to our speakers. So part of the work we do is promoting the UK as a premier international study destination, and this is at the heart of British Council's strategy. We do this through working with international students through Study UK program, but also with those who influence them. People like yourselves, counselors, agents, academics or educators, school leaders, and scholarship departments and other stakeholders. We have long recognized that educational agents and school counselors have a critical role to play in how the UK engages and recruits international students. And we work with other UK sector organizations, like colleagues who are joining us today, like BUILA, UCAS, and UKVI, and within a wider framework, which you'll hear a bit more about today, which is the agent quality framework. AJ, if you don't mind sharing the first poll, let's know who's in the call, which influencers are on our call today.
Yeah, sure. It will be there in a second.
So Qatar, Istanbul also, welcome everyone. Now you should have the poll on your screen. Let us know who you are or what your job is. Keep them coming in. School counselors, and by counselors we mean advisors, higher education counselors or career counselors, depending on what term you usually use, working for an agency, educator, independent career counselor, and other. Brilliant. We have a great mix. Keep your responses coming in. I've reached Pakistan, so we're going beyond the region too. All right. Welcome again, everyone, and recent joiners. So taking you back to what we do, a sample of what we do to support students and educators as providing resources and information to students, parents, and educators, as well as counselors. A sample of that can be found on Study UK. We've received several questions around why study in the UK, if there are scholarships for students from the Middle East and North Africa, and other questions. And Study UK is your easiest go-to to answer many of these questions. And we will be sharing the link to Study UK if you don't already have it in the chat. And then with influencers like yourselves, counselors, agents, and educators, we offer several things. First of all, a training for becoming a UK certified agent. Raise your hand if you are aware of the training, have completed the training, are certified, or any of the three. Just raise your hand. Let us know. You know of our UK counselor training. And if you don't know, we will share also in the chat the link to it, and we can provide more information about it towards the end of the webinar. Other things we do is help you reach important sector partners like today's partners, UCAS, BUILA, UKVI. We advocate for positive international student experience and best practice while guiding students, and we share your voices with the sector through various channels. The bigger framework we work within, I will not dive into this because our guest speaker, Yula, will be covering that in more depth, but in general, these are several toolkits that the sector came together and put together to support agents and counselors, international students, and education providers work together in a way that is supportive to the international student experience. I'll stop here, but before I go, the question that we received several times, and I'd like our attendees to actually respond to: why study in the UK? There's a poll on the screen, so please go ahead and share your response. Why do your students or some of your students choose the UK as a study destination, or why do you think they would be choosing UK as study destination? And while you're responding, I would like to emphasize that our work is not around sending all students to the UK or saying that everyone or the UK is suitable, studying in the UK is suitable for everyone. We're working on ensuring that those who do choose the UK are well informed and making informed decisions around their career choices. Please keep your responses coming in. So we have quality of education, flexibility. Keep your responses coming in. Course duration. What else do we have? Flexibility. Proximity to the region. Strong education, smooth path. Safety and diversity. I'm sure you could, yes, please keep bringing these in. Feel free to put them in the chat too. Post-study work visa, so the graduate route is one reason. We'll have Vanessa speak to us about that in a bit. Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that, but also we could have a session around UK as a study destination, if that's something you'd prefer. And you'd find resources on our agent and counselor training engagement hub or on Study UK, in case you need to dig more into that while guiding your students. I'll pause here because we have a long and interesting agenda. And if Eula's ready, we can.
Yes, I am.
Brilliant. Would you like us to put up your slides, or are you able to share
Please.
your slides? Yes, please.
Please.
Abdurrahman, would you be able to do that?
Sure, in a second.
Brilliant.
While you are finding my slides, I just want to introduce myself to colleagues in this virtual room. Very nice to meet you all. I think I can see some familiar faces, the colleagues I have spoken to you before, but if we haven't met before, it's a pleasure to be here and spending the next 15-20 minutes with you. My name is Eula Town Plowman, and my full-time job is working for the University of Law and Arden University in the UK. Both universities are owned by a company called the Global University System, but also I'm here wearing my BUILA hat. BUILA, as some of you might have heard before, it is a sector association in the UK. It's the largest sector association in the UK, led by practitioners like ourselves. So it is the British University International Liaison Association, and I serve as a voluntary vice chair, and also I lead on various sector projects such as this one. Very exciting. I'm sure you all are here because you are interested in finding out more about the progress that we've made with this amazing framework. So the next 15 minutes, I'll give you a very quick update about the progress that we've made with the UK's agent quality framework. And also we've got 5 minutes at the end for any questions. So just a kind of a caveat that I am the full framework, it is worth a few hours of training. So today I'm not going to go into all of the details of the framework, so that hopefully you will spend some time and sit down and go through the British Council training. However, today I'm very happy to answer any questions before you do that. So if we move on to the next slide, please. To start with, I thought it'd be really useful for us to spend a couple of minutes talking about what is kind of really at the front and center of everybody's mind in the UK within the higher education sector. Many of you who are keen UK education practitioners will have seen the new immigration white paper came out 2 months ago in May 2025. So this is a very comprehensive paper released by the UK Labour government outlining the current kind of immigration picture in the UK, and also listed a number of measures that the UK Labour government is keen to drive to implementation in order to control the numbers and the environment of which that UK welcomes international visitors, immigrants. Within this white paper, student visa compliance has been put under quite a focus of spotlight. So it's being scrutinized. And also within this white paper, sponsors, when I say sponsors, I mean any institution that has a UKVI license to recruit international students under the student visa. So we shorten them as sponsors, but it covers universities, pathway colleges, and also FE colleges in the UK, as well as language schools. Anyone that recruits students on the student visa are required to sign up to this agent quality framework to demonstrate our ability to safeguard students, international students in the UK, and also stay compliant with the UKVI's immigration rules and policies. So this is not policies yet. The immigration white paper is not policy yet. I want to make it very clear. Although you will have seen a lot of digests or a lot of analysis saying, you know, impacts on graduate route visa, impact on BCA matrix. A lot of this, or as a matter of fact, all of these are policy intentions. So there is a differentiation, although we do we do think that most of these policy intentions will go forward into implementation. So if we move on to the next slide, which is more important to us for colleagues today, what the immigration white paper means for all of us, education recruiters for agents. So first of all, I mentioned that sponsors, people or institutions with a license to recruit international students will now be required to sign up to the agent quality framework. By signing up, we generally mean that they need to sign up to the AQF pledge. So if you Google AQF pledge, you'll be able to see the number of institutions that have now signed up to the pledge, and they would normally be required to put the pledge on their website or put a list of agents that they work with on their website. So now this is mandatory. I would say that if not all of your UK university or FE or Pathway College partners would have already signed up to this, which means that they will look into fulfilling all of their roles and responsibilities as outlined in the AQF. The other key impact, I know someone from the audience has mentioned that graduate route visa has been a key driver for you to recruit students to the UK. Now, the graduate route visa is currently 2 years. The immigration white paper has asked for the graduate route to be reduced from 2 years to 18 months. This is a stronger push for genuine students whose primary goal to come to the UK under a student visa is academic. Their primary intention is academic. And then they will still have 18 months to experience working in the UK, looking for a job in the UK. And then beyond that, beyond the 18 months, they will continue to have the access to change to a skilled work visa. And there are other changes to the skilled work visa, but for us, for today, what you need to be mindful is that the graduate route visa is to be reduced from 2 years to 18 months. Proposed changes to the basic compliance assessment. This is BCA metrics. This is an annual assessment that sponsors who's got a license to recruit students needs to complete as part of their sponsor duty. And within the BCA metrics, there are 3 key measures that sponsors needs to pass, which includes enrollment rate, continuation rates, and completion rates. And the new proposed changes is to implement a traffic light system, so green, amber, and red for sponsors meeting certain levels of their BCA metrics. We do not have further details at the stage, but what we know is that the UKVI, the Labour government is proposing to implement a traffic light system to demonstrate the level of compliance by the sponsors towards the BCA metrics. There is going to be significant risk to recruitment if the sponsors are not compliant with the UKVI rules and assessment. And also, it is a very, very important point for all sponsors to be mindful for is that international student recruitment is part of their local community when they're in the UK. Therefore, sponsors are required to demonstrate the impact, either positive or not so positive impact on local communities, from housing, from costs of living, and also any kind of positive impact on enriching the community when recruiting large numbers of international students. So in a very, very kind of brief summary, these are the key impacts of the immigration white paper for us who work in international student recruitment. If we move on to the next slide, please, we'll look at one of the key kind of operational impact as part of the implementation of the AQF is that the UKVI will now has already now updated the sponsor guidance for institutions to include the compulsory, the mandatory pledge for institutions to sign up to the AQF. And as part of that, the UKVI has introduced a new agent field on the CAS system. So for colleagues who have worked in the sector for a long time, you would know that universities, when we issue CAS, we use a system called SMS. On the system, basically, it's very similar to your student application system. We fill in all of the details that we will be putting on the sponsor license for the students, their name, their personal details, the course start date, fees, and the qualifications that we have assessed to make the offer. And on this form, now the UKVI has introduced a new field which will require sponsors to put in the agent names who has supported the application. So this is not yet a mandatory requirement. It's not a compulsory field, and it will not be mandatory for September 2025. We are still working with UKVI to understand the precise time for it become mandatory, but the field is already there for universities to test how their system is, can be matched over to the SMS system with this new field. So in terms of what is required on the form, we ask institutions to put down their agent name, which is the legal name on the agent contract. So this is not your trading name if it's different from your legal name. So if my legal name is UCAS Town Plowman and my trading name is UTP, then what's required here is my legal name, UCAS Town Plowman. Agent address, this is the main office address, depending on the setup of your company. If you only have one head office with very small branch offices, then it is the head office address will be on the form. Otherwise, if you have substantial branch offices, especially when the branch office has a independent legal status, then the address will be your branch office. And then the agent family name, this is the main contact for the sponsor. So for example, again, if I'm Town Plowman Agency, and then my main contact in my company is Lucy, then the family name of Lucy will be on the form. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that very well, but I'm happy to take any questions afterwards. There's no need to input sub-agents details. We understand that UKVI is going to look into the sub-agent management in the future, but it is not part of this phase of implementation. And all the data collected via using this new field is to support the analysis and the identification of trend, and also repeated negative outcomes, repeated visa refusals, or repeated use of fraudulent document. We have got the assurance, the confirmation from the UKVI that this is not to impact individual visa application. So, because that's one of the worries that we had initially as well. What if the student is associated with an agent that has previously had visa refused? Then will the student themselves be negatively impacted? The answer was a no, and we trust that UKVI will not make individual student applications, student assessment based on the reputation or their previous interaction with that agent. But the data collected is to be used for the overall analysis of trend and also any kind of ongoing behavior. So if we move on to the next slide, which please, which is kind of the general agent quality framework itself. So I trust that audience in this virtual room, you should have heard about AQF, and some of you I know have raised your hand to say that you have already done the training. So I'm going to skip this slide, but all I wanted to say is that AQF is a joint product and led by the sector. So sector means sponsors in the UK. We really believe this and we wanted to implement this. So this is not something that's being set up by the government and being given to us by the policymakers. This is a sector-led initiative. So I'm hoping that colleagues in this room will support the sector in making sure that we stay compliant with the UK AQF, so that we do not see any further regulatory measures from the government. If I move on to the next slide, we're going to be looking at the key components, the key elements of the agent quality framework. So there are 9 key components. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but the key components for agents are as follows. Key component number 1 is the National Code of Ethical Practice for Education Agents. So this is the code for our agents, and it does set the basic kind of service standard, so below which is obviously unethical, and this is purely from an UKVI kind of compliance point of view, because we all believe you are experts in your field, but this does kind of look at the ethical practice from a UKVI compliance point of view. And the other key component that does takes you above the ethical practice, above the service level, standard service level, is the good practice guide. So this sets out what good looks like. So it goes beyond the basic ethical level. So those 2 documents are the essential kind of foundations of the agent quality framework from your point of view. And then on the other hand, you will see that good practice for providers, so those are for us. So people in my roles or in international student recruitment roles within universities, pathway colleges, further education colleges will need to familiarize themselves with the good practice guide for providers. So that is for us. And then there is a UK certified counsellor training, which is what Nasma mentioned and introduced at the beginning, that it's hosted on the British Council Agent Hub, and that is a counsellor level training. It's completely free, and it does give you so much really rich information about the UK, the UKVI compliance, and basic knowledge about the UK. It is an essential tool. If you haven't tried it, I would highly recommend you and your counsellors to take on this training. It's a completely free training course. Why wouldn't you do it? So those are the key components for our agents. And then for students, as you can see, there is a student and parent guide to choosing an education agent. So this is going to be hosted on all of our sponsors' websites, so that they are promoting this to their students. Students know the questions that they need to ask when they're choosing the right counsellor for them. If we move on to the next slide, I think it is a little bit repetitive. So basically it talks about the same thing. So this is the National Code of Ethical Practice, which is talking about the basic kind of standard of service that the UKVI is expecting and we are expecting from our contracted agent. The standard itself comes in 5 kind of key parts. It talks about the organizational behavior, ethical business practice, and also objective advice and guidance, student-centered practice, and organizational competence. So feel free to Google this. You'll be able to find the whole document if you want to have a look. But the counsellor training guide will touch upon the key kind of key information for counsellors. If we move on to the next slide, I'm going through this very fast because conscious of time, I do want you to look into this in your own time. So as part of this AQF rolling out, we ask our agents, our contracted agent, to commit onto the AQF.
I'm not sure if it's my internet or have we lost BUILA?
Yeah?
Yeah, I can hear you right now. Yes.
Yeah, all is good.
Oh, okay, thank you. So as part of the implementation for our agents, we ask not only that you go on, make sure that you have embedded the the UK counsellor training in your company, in your UK facing counsellors, and also we ask you to use certain wordings, and British Council colleagues will be very happy to provide you with the wordings to say, you know, how your company is intending to implement the AQF within your company. So if we move on to the next slide, please. If we move on again. Yeah, so this is the guide that we're sending out to students. So it's been sent out by UKVI, as well as all of the sponsors would have already linked to this guide from their website to students on how they should consider the different types of agents and also different types of counsellors. And also it does talk about why agents are providing those recommendations and services to them. It does talk about the commercial relationship between the university and agents, because transparency is a very key element in the agent quality framework. So we do want students to be aware that they're receiving these recommendations or guidance from an agent who has a commercial relationship with the universities that they're recommending. However, because we are also saying these agents that you're working with should have gone through the AQF training, which means that the guidance and advice the agents are giving out to students are based on students' best interests rather than based on their commercial desire. So this guide does settle that kind of concern for students by saying if your agents are trained by the British Council and have signed up to the AQF, then you can rest assured that the agent that you're working with will be guiding you with your best interest in mind rather than their commercial interest. If we move on to the next slide, please. If we move on again, I think I've already covered that. The certified age counsellor training. So British Council colleagues has started the presentation introducing this training. It is completely free. It is hosted on the British Council Agent Hub. So once you log on to the system, you will have several modules and you can go through these modules in your own time and your own pace. It's an amazing training course, free of charge for your counsellors, especially if you have new members of staff starting, but also in all of the new agent contracts that you're receiving from your UK university partners, you should see there is going to be a reference in your agent contract mandating that you should have your UK facing counsellor trained. We understand there is going to be a phase where you get counsellor trained. So at the moment, there is not an expectation that 100% of your counsellors are trained, but we do actively encourage our counsellors and agents going onto the British Council Agent Hub to receive the training if you haven't done so. If we move on again, I do want to if we move on again, please. So once the counsellors are trained, their names and their associations, the company name will be listed on the British Council's agent database. So education providers and sponsors and also students can check whether their chosen agent is certified. This is, on the student guide as well as on your contract. So do get yourself trained. We currently, already have lots and lots of agents trained. But if your counselors are not trained, or if your agent are not trained, when students decide which agent or which counselor to sign up to, if they can't find your name in the database, then potentially you are starting to lose that business. If you're not encouraged enough from my presentation, that is another encouragement for you to promote this training course to your counselors. So if we move on again to the next slide, and again, I think the next slide should be about the agency management course. So the training that I have introduced just now is the counselor level course. So that course is for your UK facing counselors at an individual personal level. So it's really good if they are student facing counselors, they deal with student inquiries on a daily basis. That is the right course for them. The new course we're working on is an agency level management course. This is one course per agency. This is for senior management leaders in your agency to understand from an organizational level how to make sure that the organization has a compliance framework that will safeguard your company from any, unethical behavior, safeguard your company from any disreputation, and also how you can stay compliant with the UKVI framework and the sector kind of expectation all the time. So this is suitable for your company senior leaders or your key compliance or, manager. It is somebody who's got like that overarching responsibility across your multiple branch offices. This is the overarching responsible person when it comes to anything to do with compliance. This is again hosted by British Council's hub. It is 100% online. We are rolling it out in phases. It's already live. So what you can do is nominate one person per company, not per office, per company. And also this person needs to be endorsed by your agency's leadership team. So we're not just kind of asking any, a person in your company to take this training course on behalf of your company. This person needs to be endorsed by your leadership team. And also you need to have at least 3 contracted university providers on your contract. So if you think this course is for you in phase 1, if you have more than 3 UK clients, UK university clients or higher education clients, and also you have got a senior person that has the overarching responsibility of compliance, then you can go to that link at the bottom of the page and also fill out the form, nominate this person, and then you will receive an access to the training course. Trained agencies with this new course will receive a certificate. This certificate is for you and it's not going to be published by the British Council because it's basically saying your company has received the training. It doesn't endorse the company to have, been providing, accent service. It's a basic framework training for the agency. So move on. I think that is the end. How do you communicate your commitment to AQF? So once your company has received training both at the counselor level and also at the agency level, there are certain wordings that we want you to use to promote the fact that you have you have supported the AQF implementation and you have been trained. So you can go to our British Council LinkedIn page to interact with us and continue to promote the AQF, but also there is a set kind of paragraph of wording that you can use to promote the fact that you've been trained by British Council and are compliant with the AQF. So with that, that is a very quick kind of overview of the AQF and where we are now. Oh, so this is the wording that you can use. This is the wording that you can use. We, the agency name, are committed to the principles of AQF as set out in the National Code of Ethical Practice and requirement of UK education providers. So the commitment to AQF can be demonstrated through our agency provider contract and our continued engagement with the education providers to ensure the UKVI sponsor license responsibilities are met. So there's long version and short version, and how you will use the service standard and the training to continuously improve and maintain your service level to students and to promote transparency and knowledge. So feel free to ask for a copy of these wording once you have indeed received the trainings. We would love for you to help us positively communicate within yourselves amongst your agency peers around how the AQF framework and our training courses have helped maintaining that service level to students, and also would love to hear from you how this is now embedded as your staff training framework as well. So that is a very quick overview of where we are with AQF. I'm not going to go into further details because all of you will be going on to British Council's Agent Hub and find out more. Now, Nasma, I'm very happy to take questions if we have any. Have we
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Sheila, for the presentation. You've answered a lot of the questions already in your slides, and there were a lot of updates, so the white paper and the new agency training. But one of the questions was about the white paper, and do we expect a time for implementation?
That's a very good question. So it's not going to be one specific date for all of the recommendations from the white paper to be implemented. So the process of implementation, the next step of the white paper is for the recommendations, because there's loads of recommendations from the white paper, to be discussed and debated in the government, and then there's impact assessment done by various kind of government departments. So what's going to happen is that the recommendations will be implemented once the particular specific conversations being had and the impact assessment has been done and the government approves that recommendation, knowing the positive or negative impact that particular recommendation is going to have on sectors, on students, or on the general public in the UK. So some of the things have already been approved. For example, quick steps in terms of the AQF implementation, that sponsors will be required to sign up to the AQF, agent name will be on CAS, and the graduate route visa will be going down from 2 years to 18 months. So these measures have now been approved. The implementation is being rolled out in a kind of phased approach. But we do not have a definitive date for all of this, because these are big changes and they all have, some have very significant impact, some have small impact, some have impact on institutions in updating our processes, our system, and our technology in supporting these changes. So there's no specific date, but signing up to the agent quality framework and signing up to the course, you will stay informed. You will be kept very informed with every little change coming from the UKVI, coming from your contracted partners on anything that is going to impact you and your students. So the best way to stay informed is to get onto that database.
Thanks so much, Sheila, for walking us through what that means in detail and what has been implemented already or approved already from the white paper recommendations. And we wait for more, and for also highlighting how important it is to be on the hub to stay informed also. There's another question about the agency management course and whether that is independent consultants or independent counselors should also apply for that.
If it's an independent counselor, as in if you only have one or two counselors, then the right course for you at this stage is the counselor training course, which is free on the British Council Agent Hub. So that is the course for you. The agency management course is for slightly bigger companies with a slightly more complicated infrastructure with multiple branch offices that you have a named person overseeing the implementation of various compliance measures. So at this phase, at this particular period of time, I would recommend if you are one-man band or two-man band, you should be prioritizing the counselor training course as opposed to the agency management course. Both are completely free. What is the course name? So the course name for the counselor is UK Education Counselor Training course. You can find it on the British Council Agent Training Hub. And the agency level management course, it is called Agency Management course. Again, you'll be able to Google it and find it on the British Council website as well.
Thank you so much, Sheila. That is brilliant presentation and questions and answers. If you have more questions and questions for Sheila Tang, please put them in the Q&A section and we will respond in writing for the benefit of time. And I'll now thank Sheila and ask Becca to share